She wasn't meant to survive, left to bleed out in utter darkness, yet she did. Authorities in Dickinson launched a frantic investigation after an 8-year-old girl was abducted from her home and left for dead in a remote field. I knew I was dying. I could feel my body growing weaker, but inside there was this burning rage. I decided if I was going to die, I would do everything I could to make sure he was found," recalled Jennifer Schuett in a haunting reflection. "Yes, your application came in contact with her?" "Yes. Tell me about that." "No, it was a summer night in Dickinson," a voice echoed in the background, hinting at the tangled web of events that led to that moment. Texas promised tranquility. It was August 1990, and in the home of 9-year-old Jennifer Schuett, everything seemed ordinary. Her mother lovingly tucked her into bed, blissfully unaware that within a few hours, their lives would be irrevocably shattered. Jennifer lived with her mother in a cozy ground-floor apartment. Their small town exuded peace and safety, with windows flung open to welcome the fresh night air. Yet this seemingly innocuous detail would prove to be a harbinger of horror on that fateful night. As the night transitioned toward dawn, an intruder stealthily slipped into Jennifer's room. Awakened by an unsettling sensation, she sensed an unfamiliar presence. In an instant, a large, rough hand clamped over her mouth. Silencing any chance of a scream, a strange man loomed over her, his body reeking of sweat and stale cigarettes. He whispered menacing threats in a hushed tone, lifting her from the bed and carrying her into the night. Terror froze her small frame. Helpless, she could not fight back. The man moved with alarming speed toward a car parked nearby, shoving her inside. Jennifer's heart raced violently, silent tears cascading down her cheeks. She longed to scream, to cry out for help, but fear had stolen her voice. Meanwhile, in the next room, her mother slept soundly, completely unaware that her daughter had vanished. No one witnessed the abduction. No one heard a thing. As dawn broke, Jennifer's mother entered her daughter's room. To her horror, she found the bed empty. Initially, she assumed Jennifer had simply gone to the bathroom or kitchen. But as she searched the apartment, an icy dread began to grip her heart. The window was open wider than usual. A chilling realization coursed through her veins. She bolted outside, calling out for Jennifer into the still morning air. The commotion stirred the neighbors, several of whom rushed to help, but there were no answers. Only an overwhelming sense of fear. In a panic, Jennifer's mother dialed the police, her hands trembling uncontrollably. How could a child vanish from her own bed without a trace? Officers arrived within minutes, scouring the apartment and questioning neighbors. Yet no one had heard a cry or seen a shadow flit through the darkness. There were no signs of struggle, no clues left behind. Whoever had taken Jennifer operated with chilling precision. The car sped through the darkened streets of Dickinson, carrying her deeper into a nightmare. Meanwhile, the kidnapper continued driving farther away from home. Jennifer sat stiffly in the passenger seat, paralyzed with fear. The man gripped the wheel with one hand while the other occasionally stroked her hair, a grotesque gesture of control. In a chilling whisper, the man assured Jennifer, "Everything will be fine, sweetheart. Just do as I say." Confusion and fear gripped her, coiling in her stomach like ice. As they drove, she focused on the outside world, desperately memorizing every detail she could. The glow of streetlights flickered past, their glow offering a brief comfort against the encroaching dread. The car twisted and turned down unfamiliar roads, while passing vehicles remained oblivious to her silent plea for help. Soon, he veered off onto a desolate gravel road, heading towards an open field. With a jarring halt, the car came to a stop. He killed the engine and turned to her, a smirk curling his lips. "You're mine now," he declared. In a swift, brutal motion, he yanked her from the car, dragging her deeper into the tall grass, where the scent of damp earth mingled with the foulness of his breath. Jennifer fought against him, but her small frame offered little resistance. That night, she found herself trapped in a nightmare beyond comprehension. Pain, terror, and helplessness merged into an unending horror. Her body trembled, yet her mind clung stubbornly to consciousness. When he was finished, he left her there, bleeding and broken. "No one will find you," he muttered, vanishing into the darkness. Alone, Jennifer lay in agony, the night enveloping her like a suffocating shroud, pain radiating through her battered body. Yet it was the fear that truly paralyzed her. She was unable to move or cry out, as if an invisible hand had clamped around her throat, rendering her silent. All she could do was wait, surrounded by the haunting sounds of the night. The incessant hum of insects buzzed around her, and the grass whispered softly in the wind. Her thoughts swirled in a daze, but a singular haunting idea returned to her. No one will find me. But with the dawn came hope, a passerby wandering through the field. He noticed something odd in the grass. At first, he believed it to be a discarded doll, but as he approached, horror gripped him. "Oh my God," he whispered, rushing to her side. Though Jennifer could not speak, her pleading eyes conveyed everything. Without hesitation, he called for help. Minutes later, the wailing sirens broke through the stillness, and paramedics arrived, lifting her gently, careful not to worsen her injuries. Wrapped in a warm blanket, Jennifer remained silent, her fragile body shaking, yet within her, a single thought pulsed fiercely. I survived, as she was rushed to the hospital. Detectives meticulously combed through the crime scene, but the predator had left little to trace. No fingerprints, no footprints, no evidence to guide them. Meanwhile, Jennifer's mother arrived at the hospital, her heart racing with dread. Upon seeing her daughter, her knees buckled, tears streaming down her face. "My baby," she sobbed, grasping Jennifer's trembling hand. But Jennifer remained fixated on the ceiling, her unblinking stare revealing a truth that would forever alter her life. A heavy silence enveloped the hospital room. Jennifer lay motionless, her gaze locked onto the stark, white ceiling above her. Her body ached painfully, yet the wound within her soul ran much deeper. Doctors and nurses murmured soothingly, but their words faded into an indistinct blur, lost in her overwhelming reality. As the police stood by, they anticipated the moment they could question her. However, a significant obstacle lay before them. Jennifer Schuett, the victim, was unable to speak. The brutal attack had left her vocal cords severely damaged. Words hovered on the tip of her tongue, but only a faint rasp emerged from her throat. Yet, despite her silence, she had not forgotten. Days later, a detective entered her hospital room, his demeanor calm and reassuring. He settled beside her bed, a gentle smile gracing his face. "Jennifer," he began, "we want to find the man who did this to you. Do you remember what he looked like?" With great effort, she nodded slowly, a flicker of determination in her eyes. The detective presented her with a piece of paper and a pencil. At first, her fingers trembled, uncertain. But as she focused, she began to write, each letter forming a crucial piece of the puzzle. White car, light brown hair, mustache. The detective scrutinized her notes, nodding with encouragement as he read. "You're doing great," he reassured her. "We'll find him." The next critical step was to create a composite sketch based on her recollections. With a forensic artist by her side, Jennifer meticulously detailed the man who had stolen her childhood. Even after days had passed, her memory remained vivid, recalling his features in chilling detail. The completed sketch was soon disseminated throughout the state, a desperate attempt to spark recognition. Now, all they could do was wait. Days turned into weeks, and weeks morphed into months, yet no calls came. The kidnapper had seemingly vanished into thin air, leaving behind a wake of despair and unanswered questions. Despite the ongoing investigation, breakthroughs remained elusive. Jennifer's sketch was sent to police departments and featured in local newspapers. Yet the man with the mustache and light brown hair went unrecognized. Authorities sifted through hundreds of white cars that matched the description of the abductor's vehicle. They interrogated numerous suspects, comparing their appearances to Jennifer's description, but every lead crumbled to dust, offering no solace. Time continued its relentless march, indifferent to the unanswered questions that lingered. Jennifer returned home, but life as she once knew it had been irrevocably altered. She faced the arduous task of relearning how to speak, how to trust, and how to sleep without the shadow of fear. Nightmares plagued her, relentless in their pursuit of her peace. Yet her mother remained a beacon of hope. She tirelessly reached out to the police, penned letters to newspapers, and fervently advocated for her daughter's case to stay open. "He's still out there," she insisted, her voice filled with anguish, "living his life while my little girl wakes up in terror every night." Without new evidence, however, the case began to grow cold. Years slipped by, and as Jennifer matured, the fear remained an unwelcome companion. The face of her attacker was etched in her memory, a haunting scar that refused to fade. Deep down, she knew that one day the truth would surface. She just had to endure the passage of time. As the years drifted by, Jennifer learned to navigate life with the memories, though their grip never loosened. Although time could not erase the image of her attacker, law enforcement remained powerless in their quest to locate him. Yet, as the dawn of the early 2000s approached, forensic technology advanced, and DNA databases began to expand, offering a glimmer of hope in a long-forgotten case. In a dramatic turn of events, the year 2009 marked a pivotal moment for cold cases that had long been shrouded in silence. Detectives, determined to bring closure to unsolved crimes, revisited the evidence from Jennifer Stewart's harrowing attack. Biological samples, collected from her body nearly 2 decades earlier, were sent for analysis. Weeks later, the long-awaited results arrived. A DNA match emerged, revealing a chilling truth. The genetic profile belonged to a man already known to the federal system, Dennis Bradford, a 40-year-old with a criminal history that included kidnapping and sexual assault. Astonishingly, at the time of Jennifer's attack, he had lived in the same town, his shadow lurking close to her life. Years had passed since Bradford had relocated to another state, but now detectives wasted no time. After 19 long years, Jennifer's attacker was finally identified. When she learned his name, a tempest of emotions surged within her. Fear gripped her heart, anger ignited her spirit, and a sense of relief washed over her. "I want to look him in the eyes," she declared, a fierce determination replacing her fear. After nearly 2 decades of waiting, this moment had finally arrived. Police officers approached a quiet home in North Dakota, where Dennis Bradford had settled into an ordinary life, blissfully unaware that his past was about to catch up with him. When they presented the arrest warrant, he did not resist. Instead, he listened in silence, processing the gravity of the situation before offering a slow nod. "You found me," he murmured, as if acknowledging the inevitable confrontation with his past. It was as if he had always known this day would come. He was extradited to Texas, where he would finally face justice. By this time, Jennifer was 29 years old, a woman shaped by her experiences, and she had one burning question that haunted her. Why? But the answers she sought would remain forever elusive. 6 months after his arrest, on the night of May 10th, 2000, 10 guards found Dennis Bradford dead in his jail cell. In a desperate act, he had taken his own life, slitting his throat and escaping the grasp of justice one final time. When Jennifer heard the news, her reaction was unnervingly calm. "He ran from justice," she told reporters, a steely resolve in her voice. "But I won't let him take my story with him." In that moment, she made a powerful decision. She would speak. She would share her story, ensuring that other victims would understand that even after years of silence, the truth could still prevail. With Dennis Bradford's death, there would be no trial, no testimony, and no cross-examinations to challenge his actions. For Jennifer, this was a cruel twist of fate. She had spent years yearning for the day she could confront him, demand answers, and make him face the horrors he had inflicted. Now, that moment would never materialize. Still, law enforcement officially closed the case. The DNA evidence was irrefutable. Bradford was indeed her attacker, the very man she had described haunting her childhood. He was the same man that science had now brought to light. Standing before the press, Jennifer addressed not only reporters but survivors everywhere. "I am living proof that you can survive the worst," she asserted, her voice strong and unwavering. "I won't let what he did define my life. He thought he had destroyed me, but he was wrong." With every word, she refused to let her pain be in vain. She began collaborating with police, assisting in investigations and advocating for victims of violent crimes. In sharing her story, she aimed to ensure that others would not feel isolated in their struggles. Though Dennis Bradford had escaped earthly punishment, his name would forever be etched in history, a reminder of the darkness she had conquered. Not as a free man, but as a monster unmasked. Dennis Bradford's true nature had been laid bare, yet Jennifer Stewart emerged from the shadows as something he could never be, a survivor. With the case officially closed, Jennifer made a pivotal choice. She resolved to reclaim her life, refusing to live in fear any longer. No longer just a victim, she began to speak publicly, sharing her harrowing journey of survival and the pursuit of justice. She aimed to illuminate the path for others, hoping they would understand that, even in the face of unimaginable horror, hope could indeed prevail. "I don't want anyone to feel as alone as I did," she passionately conveyed to her audiences. Jennifer built a new life. She married, found a rewarding career, and embraced a future that had once seemed impossible. Yet, the past lingered, etched into the very fabric of her existence. Some nights, she awoke in terror, the haunting memories of that fateful August night pressing against her chest like a weight she could not shake. On some days, her voice trembled as she recounted her story, but the most important aspect was that she shared it. No evil would ever silence her again.